Okay, mic check, mic check. Should be able to hear now, see the screen, all that. Welcome, Mr. Blue here. TradePhantoms.com. Spent about an hour with y'all, folks. Some pre-market prep, maybe trade a little bit off the open. Hopefully everybody had a good weekend. New month, August. First full week of August here. Today's date. Let's see what screen y'all can see here. All right, cool. Hey, what's going on, Jace? The man, the myth. Joe Frank, Justin, what's going on? Good morning, good morning. Yeah, so today is obviously going to be the 5th of August, Tuesday, 2025. First week of August. Hopefully everybody had a good July, good weekend, all that, enjoying the summer. I know a lot of vacations and all that kind of, going on around this time before kind of school starts, all that with the kids, if you got that, if you got those. But today, of course, back to business. I'll go through kind of a pre-market morning prep here. And one thing I want to just make a note of too, real quick, coming off of last week, which is a pretty intense week, just in terms of what was coming out, big cap, mega cap, some of the Mag 7 earnings, some big names, right? And then we had the Fed, not too long ago as well. So yeah, a little bit more calmer this week, not as much, but as much as last week. But today, the point that I'm trying to make just here real quick right here, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do have ISM Services PMI. So make a note of that. That's about 30 minutes after that open. So that could potentially affect the movement. Pretty quiet for the most part in the U.S. here from last week. There is a couple of still some earnings that are coming out as well. Some of the bigger names did okay. Amazon not quite as well. I did have this open. Hold on. Must have spent too much time on it, but want to make a note of this. Hopefully everybody had a good trade day yesterday. It was definitely a nice mover. Gap up, pro gap up, and just remained on bids all day for the most part. All right, here's earnings. So most of the big names are, for the most part, done. We got AMD tonight, SMCI, Uber, Shopify, got McDonald's, DraftKings tomorrow. So it's lighter. It's lighter. Lilly's a big one. ConocoPhillips. So I just parked that there. AMD is one to potentially definitely be looking at. Uber as well, Shopify. All right, just interesting there. Okay, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you noteworthy that. I'll get to the charts. That's where the fun is at anyways. So let me start this off here like this. As always, institutional demand and supply is the backdrop, is the main strategy at TradePhantoms, of course. And top-down multiple time frame analysis, right? Orange, you'll see a lot of orange, yellows, and blues on my chart. Orange has to do with the monthly time frame. Weekly time frame has a color code of yellow designation, and then the daily time frame is a blue color code designation. So anything that you see in those respective colors has to do with those respective time frames. Okay, here's a checklist that the Phantoms has with this document here. Bullish candlesticks, a bunch of fancy names, location and context being most important. Bearish, location and context, most important. Less about the names. Okay, and then we get the liquidity map, super important here. Park this over here to the left. This is the guide. All right, multiple time frame analysis, top-down approach. Start off with futures, and I'm going to go and click over into the major 4 indexes just really briefly. All right, starting with the S&P upper left, you can see it's about it's pretty much flat for the most part, 0.12%. Nasdaq upper right, 0.28. Dow Jones flat, right, slightly down. Russell 2000 slightly up 0.37%. Daily time frame across the board here. And it was beautiful. It was nice. Last week, we had some opening, some movement, right? So we're talking about how we've been grinding, inside bars, right? Grinding higher, making higher lows. Well, last week, VIX was extremely low. We're talking about how, it's going to be careful, kind of sleep with one eye open type deal as an analogy, because something, could potentially just pop this market. We could potentially have an increased volatility, right? And so that's what we had last week. Okay, now off the back of coming off of all-time highs, of course, we scraped a new high. And then, 2 days last week, going Thursday, starting with Thursday and into Friday, we had a bigger drop. Okay, bigger drop. We started to actually take out a couple levels up here with that increased volatility, right? So we did have a couple levels planned out. Not super fresh. We've been talking about how if we looked below current price, and it was a little bit more difficult to find some prime or fresh, if you will, levels of demand on the smaller time frames, being like the 60-minute time frame, the 4-hour time frame, the 30-minute time frame, so on and so forth. Using that higher time frame, weekly lows and daily lows, and 20-period moving averages as a kind of guide on that. And then as you can see on Friday, we kind of swiped down lower. Started a little bit too early on Friday in regard to a trading setup that I was looking at. I was doing front side. We ended up inevitably catching that bottom on Friday, but I was a little bit too early on it, and I got this data decayed on and all that kind of stuff, right? So maybe some people caught it a bit more better in futures, but essentially, yeah, on Friday, that low that we had with Phantoms is still working out, beautifully, right? Monday, yesterday, all we did was just open up and just, especially for the cash market, the regular trading hours, we just gapped up, slightly pain gap up, pro gap up, and just ripped higher all day. Not really a rip, but just a nice steady grind higher. That was yesterday's bar, as you can see right here on the S&P futures daily time frame. It did kind of paint in not so much of an engulfing, because it's supposed to engulf the whole bar, where you have a daily engulfing bar where it engulfs the whole prime bar low and high. So it's still kind of like an inside bar, green bar. And right now that's bringing today where it could be pretty interesting to see if we have a potential fall through off of yesterday's rally. Okay, and nice little bullish close there, or if we're going to just kind of pull back and grind back down inside of yesterday being Monday, and then Friday's bar. Okay, so pretty interesting. That's it. It's a nice little candle, though, I will say. Nice little green bar close. Okay, you'll see on the SPYs and Qs and the SPX, the cash market, or I should say the regular trading hours, it is actually indeed a positive COG, right? Green bar taking out a red bar. So see if we get some fall through here today. I am going to drop down to the 60-minute time frame and still map out our intermediate demand and supply levels for some Globex traps. Jace asks, what class in advanced futures do we go over leg tracking? I need to take it again. I know super beginning question since focus on it made such a difference. Yeah, that's a great question, Jace. In advanced futures, I believe, like legging, that would be, I'd say, part 3, which I think we're coming up onto this week. And I would say also maybe part 4. So advanced, to answer your question, part 3 and part 4, I think we go into a little more of the legging process. Specifically 3, I say that because the that whole topic is stages 1 through 4, accumulation, distribution. So that's where I go into that in more detail in regard to that leg in and legging out process. What's going on, Ryan? Ryan hooked up. What's going on, brother? All right, cool. So great question. So we'll see how. I know there's a lot of lines everywhere. I like to keep my notes on for members and people, right? Seeing how everything worked out. But we will go drop down to the 60-minute time frame, and it'll be cleaned up a little bit more, as you'll see in a moment. Carrying that over into the Nasdaq Nasdaq futures here. By the way, I felt like crap over the weekend, so you might notice I'm a little bit off, a little bit on my So I'm all good, but caught something over the weekend or something like that. So just getting my voice back. Daily here, nice little drop down. Using that 20-period moving average, great. We came into some weeklies, folks, right? I was talking about that weekly level liquidity sweep. So always watch out for those weekly lows, weekly highs, daily highs, monthly lows for those sweeps associated with levels, right? I was like take out tight stop losses and trap some people who are chasing red bars lower into levels of demand, etc. Okay, so came back up, of course, yesterday being Monday. And I guess I'm just going to drop down the 60-minute time frame just to showcase the levels of demand and supply to map out our Globex traps. So that said, I will do that now. Yep, done it Thursdays. On Thursdays. So I got a monthly here, weekly here, daily here, monthly, weekly, daily. Yeah, Mark, it caught me, that's for sure. Something going around. So I got the 60-minute time frame here on the upper left, 30-minute bottom left, 5-minute here, 2-minute here, and geez, got to update. Definitely got to update these lines now, right? So let's get too crazy here. So yeah, let me just delete a couple of these things here. Keep a couple. This is not great. So again, I'm not as prepped as what I usually would be. usually I do a ton of work over the weekend, and I really couldn't do much over the weekend here. Unfortunately, it sucks, but all right, so we gotta delete these. So came down, I'll try to make this out here. So here's the current price. Here's the current price. Here's the current price. All right, if I get straight to the point here, here's the Globex low. If you could try to make that out, okay. Let me just delete these. I'll keep these boxes on. I have to. All right, this was that bigger area that we were talking about where we had a nice location for some weeklies in here. So this was on Friday. We caught that. I started too early up here. So anyway, so this is going to be today. Here's the new Globex low today, cleaning house a bit here. Globex high here. There we go. All right, so nice little tight range overnight in the ticker swim. This is the gray space, is the overnight session. Okay, you see yesterday just ding, 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 market open, ripped up, grind up, grind up, grind up. So the strategy is if we break the Globex low, okay, do I have an institutional level of demand below said Globex low? And if I do look down and left, we have this little impulse basing impulse right below there. We also have another one right down in here too, which of course, pretty simply put, which is yesterday's ding, 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 market open. We just ripped up and rallied, right? So these could be used as two levels of demand below the Globex low for what's called a Globex trap long. Okay, so this one would be a bit more aggressive coming here at the price point 63.40 handle, give or take. So I'll make a note of that. $63.40 handle on the S&P futures. This is an S&P futures 1 hour time frame, by the way. Now this one will be a bit more aggressive because it's kind of up there, right? So this is a G-trap long. No sleep in the south. I feel like I did get thick lesser there than up here, but if you have kids, you know the struggle is real. All right, and then the other one here. Now this is super obvious. This is really super obvious. I'm sure it's super obvious. So I want to get a little bit more lower here. This is all done overnight too. This is all these levels here below here are going to be developed overnight. So I want to be a little bit careful with that. I still want to reference this now last week's low down in here. Okay, keep in mind those weekly lows, folks. Okay. That was one of the mistakes that I made on Friday, just going in a little bit too early, not waiting for those higher time frame weeklies and monthlies levels to do what's called a counter trend mean revert. Okay, and I paid for that. Okay, so that said, there's a couple levels down in here too. All right, I want map out. You want to map out that level. That's a little obvious. Everybody and their grandmother could probably see that level right there. So you might want to go a little bit more lower below that 6,300 handle. So a nice little G trap here. I'm going to pin here 6292 S&P futures. All right. All right, don't forget that weekly level down here, 6240. Okay. All right, moving on. I'm going to do NASDAQ a bit more quicker. I'm going to have to clean house a little bit too, therefore. Oh, well, let me do the shorts because we do have some increased volatility. Okay, and last week, Thursday into Friday, or Thursday into Friday, we've had a little bit of a supply dump here, right? So if I go to Globex high, I feel like up and left, I do have a little bit of a level right here, and of course, this is the all-time high, right? So if we did happen to pop back up today, okay, Globex high, we could reference this level right here, 64.25, call it. Could be a decent little G-trap short. Okay. There's another one right here. This one will be a little bit more aggressive because it's just right above there. But sometimes what will happen is during these G-traps, it's not the greatest level in the world. Okay. But this was a range that was getting held up. Okay, there goes that Fed day 6377 famous level that we mapped out beautifully there. Okay, and then it finally touched back again, and then finally broke. Right, so this is the breakdown level of this level here. Right, so definitely want to reference this. This is a bit more aggressive though. If you were to say 6396, aggressive. Okay, watch out for that even number right above here too. All right, highly suggest not to put your stop loss right above this level. Okay, because you'll potentially just be market maker stop loss hunt. Okay, so I'd be leaning into selling short into the 6405, all right, 07s right above that level for potential liquidity sweep. And then if this thing, if we get some closes above here, you just might have to get stopped out. Might be going to the next level. I would also say be careful with that stop loss right above this level right here at 6340 as well. Okay, so I know it's a little more of an advanced concept that I definitely don't have enough time to go over, at least for right now, 25 minutes before the open, because there's still so many things to cover here. Okay, but I'd almost recommend to put your entries inside of the right above that level as well, so to not get stop loss fish and potentially be a beneficiary, potentially getting stopped. So Chase was just asking a great question this morning about scaling it, legging it. This is something I would do up here, especially if I were to say, hey, if we're going to sell short, okay, if we're going to sell short this market, are we still in an uptrend or a downtrend? Or if the question is, if we were to sell short this market, is that still going to be a counter trend trade? Okay, the answer would still be yes. But Mr. Blue, we had a big drop, or a decent drop on Thursday and Friday. Yes, it didn't really break any structure. Okay, on the monthly and the weeklies. Okay, we needed some kind of like pop a little bit because the markets were just getting so complacent. VIX was just hovering super low. So anytime that happens, you have a high probability that there's going to be some kind of like volatility pop and spike, and that's what we've seen last Thursday and Friday. Okay, now calm down a little bit here. Okay, so now we're kind of like balancing back up. Okay, Nasdaq. I'm gonna have to do this extremely quick. Yeah, kids at 13 and 15 years are still in little snot age. Yeah, yeah, exactly. All right, Nasdaq, blah blah blah. We talked about all these levels out here before. Not quite. That's why I was like, hey man, this market might have a little more room to go because there's not a lot of freshness down here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I've been giving some clues on that with the Phantoms group for a little while now, right? Still getting long, but just be a little careful. Okay, boom. Thursday we got that drop down. Last week, the weekly low to the T yesterday. Yesterday on Friday. I'm sorry, Friday on VWAP. I'm sorry, on Friday. Okay, on that weekly swing low. Cleaning this up a little bit here. Here's a new Globex low here for today. All right, Globex high here. Take a line from this. All right, got a couple levels down in here. G-trap longs. $23,190, $250. All right, these are going to be aggressive here. Demand right below that Globex low. So if it just does a quick little swipe, okay, you can potentially get that potential trap there to get long. Watch out for a stop loss fish right there. And if I were to map out the equivalent level that I did in the S&Ps to the Nasdaq now futures here, this is Nasdaq futures 1 hour time frame. That's kind of obvious right there. I get that, right? What I was mentioning. And so you might want to come a little bit more lower here. I got a nice even number down here too. Okay, 22995 is going to be here. And so kind of like what I'm looking at down here. Okay. I'm still going to reference this from last week. Okay, but I'm going to make this box yellow. Why? Because this is at or around last week's low. All right. All right, so some stuff down here. Emphasis on anything that you see in yellow. Emphasis on that. All right. Globex trap short. Globex high here. Above here. Supply, supply. Current price up and left. Could easily see a liquidity sweep right above this level here. Darken this out so y'all can see a bit better. Click, 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 click. NASDAQ hunts stops like a madman, so do not put your stop loss right above that level. You're probably just going to get stopped out for the mean revert. All right, so that's almost like an entry right up there. Zooming in. There's level on level in here. So this is the breakdown bar right there. That's the correction. This is the trade on Thursday, I remember. That's the breakdown bar. All right, there's a little sneaky guy right in there. There's levels on levels in here. All right, so if long definitely begin to TP, which means take profit up here from longs. Do not put your, I would suggest not to put your stop loss right above that 617 handle, 23,000. That is 617 handle right above that level. Okay, and almost like scale in. Okay, that'll be interesting today. There's some supply that needs to be absorbed up here. Okay. So pretty clean. I like the volatility that's coming into this market so far. Kind of hope it almost continues. But yeah, that's that. That's the lay of the land. If you want to take a quick peek while I take a sip of coffee, I'm going to move on. Starting with the VIX. If you don't know how to track VIX, you're going to need some VIX body rub. So it's either you know what VIX is doing and how to trade it, or know what it does, or get hurt. VIX spiked up. Okay, we talked about how VIX so low, right? We talked about VIX sub 14, right? Pop. VIX got a nice little pop. All right, popped up, right? Came up to the 20 handle. Now calm down a little bit here. Now we're still elevated off, say the lows that we've had, right? So it popped up, came back down. Now put that VIX pop into perspective. It's not an insane, major affair across the board, right? Oh, look, tariffs here, right? We got the Japan carry trade unwind there. Okay, it wasn't a major thing, okay, but it was a nice little normalized kind of like pop. Okay, things a little bit too hot, right? And it popped a little bit, kind of took some air out, if that's a better analogy, okay? So VIX up, market down, VIX down, market up, inverse correlation, right? So even though we're looking at that in the higher time frames as always, I got the overnight high mapped out right here in VIX. You can see kind of quiet, okay, and the overnight low right here, right? So you can see when VIX is popping up, markets are down. Yesterday we had a VIX gap down, move down, just grind lower, okay, as the markets were going higher, right? So VIX down, market up, VIX up, market down, just inverse correlation. I map out where the overnight high is and put an ellipse there to see how it sustains. Map out last time I seen, just kind of checked on it, took a peek on it, map out the overnight low, see if that remains below there, kind of grinds steady lower. That would be more bullish for the market. That said, SPYs, SPYs, got a weekly on the left, daily on the right. Computers are working a little bit better here with this restream today. Last Thursday was just a headache. All right, weekly on the left. So I had a nice, again, week. We had a down week. I mean, geez, can you get a down week? You need one, right? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 weeks up, give or take, so for the most part, right? Finally had a little bit of a drop down, right? No big deal. We made a new high yesterday, last week, and we're off 3% of that. We came down 3% off the all-time highs. Nothing too crazy there. So again, yeah, VIX spike. We had a nice little infusion of vol, but didn't really break nothing major. Okay, couldn't even break this these weekly lows down in here. Okay, we just snapped the weekly prior low below there. Okay, we had this last month's high, month of June, all right, high, and we still kind of retested that on the other side. That's where I got in. That's when I finally got in heavier size on the long last Friday. Okay, but again, I started that a little bit too early there, so didn't do good enough for that to come up. Ended up being the low, which is what I'm trying to get at right now. Just moving on, because then we had to close there on Friday. Then yesterday being Monday, we gapped up. That's a nice little pro gap up, folks. Red bar down. Okay, we got some weeklies, get some weekly lows testing here. Okay, a previous monthly high broken, retesting the other side here. Okay, for the second time now. Okay, so again, like I mentioned, we're not really breaking anything here. Anyways, gapped up here and just gapped up and just fall through all day, right? Wide range bar off the open yesterday. So hopefully I did good. Everything was just up off the board. So there's the gap up. Okay, even on a smaller time frame, clearing that 20 EMA right here too. Right, belt hold bar, and the rest is history. Just a high, low grind up above VWAP all day yesterday. Easy. So hopefully people clean house on that yesterday. Now today, unfortunately, we're in the middle now. We're kind of in the middle of that drop that started on last Thursday, okay, into Friday, and then on Monday we kind of rebalanced that, and we're kind of in the middle now, right, of that drop being down 3%, and then now we're up off of that. But 1.5%, right, give or take. So now bull market is still intact here. Okay, so again, the path of least resistance. I don't mean resistance as like supply, okay, but I just mean resistance as like pushback. All right, pushback. Path of least resistance would be up, right? It's easier to go up here than it is down because of the higher time frame still up. Okay. Good job, Aiden. Was that on Friday, brother, or yesterday? Sorry, that's how I remember Aiden in the chat there on YouTube. He's the man. On Friday or yesterday? All right, while he's entering that, because I know there's a delay, I'll carry on here. All right, nice little bell hold bar, positive COG bar. That's telling us that we should potentially get more. Again, like I mentioned here, path of least resistance. All right, higher probability of moving one way or the other. Would be up. Okay, would be up. But again, we could, doesn't mean that's going to happen, right? So we'll see how that pans out on the intraday time frame. I'm going to go to SPX. You can see we're gapping up just a little bit on SPY. It's not even enough to really even speak about that much. If I go to SPX yesterday, good job, Aiden. Good job, brother. Yeah, nice day, nice smooth day. You get those. Execute. Good job. I love how you said it was your best execution day, not like, oh, I made the most money ever. I like how you said execution. That's good. Because that tells me that you're not focusing on the money. You're focusing on the execution of the process. And then that's where the money comes. One of my accounts just got logged out. I gotta log back in. I don't want to waste any of your time though. Okay, so SPX implied open gift board take. You could just say 63.35 ish. Give or take, plus or minus 5 or right. So 35 to 40, give or take, in terms of the open. Why am I saying that? Well, we're gonna go over there over here to options depth, and it's a little bit more advanced. But if we're opening up at or around the 63, 35, 40 ish. Okay, what I want to see here is zooming in. Mr. Iron Condor looks like he's back here. I see Captain Condor here. He got a IC Iron Condor at 63.55. Sold call, bought call 63.60s. sold put 62.95, bought put 62.90. So you can see that's an iron condor here. Market makers on the other side of that. Okay, and that's creating these. Nice. I like when this is all nice. Probably gonna end up buying some of these. I like to buy these spreads for like 20 cents, and if they're wrong, I get paid. Well, I don't want to talk about that too much right now. All right. Well, anyways, I can't go in that right now. 10 minutes before the open. But what this is going to help provide is as prices rally up into these what's called positive gamma nodes, that's going to provide some supply. Okay, as prices come down below, come down into these positive gamma nodes, it's going to create some demand. We do have a little bit of a pocket of a little positive gamma node right here, 6330, and that's right at or around where the SPX is going to be at or around where it's going to be opening here. Okay, so for example, like this iron condor, they would want price to remain below 6350 and above 6395, 6300, call it, right? And if prices remain there, this sold credit would expire to zero and worthless, and then that would make money, right? Getting paid off selling options, okay, in the form of credit spreads for what's called an iron condor. Okay. Now the thing about that is, if prices do move above here or below here, okay, that credit spread would be wrong. Where sometimes you're taking a little bit more risk on a credit spread than the reward. Okay. So what I was mentioning is, I can get these maybe for like 20. Sometimes I'll just put in a bid on these for like 20 cents. Okay, and you just get filled on them. And if they max loss on one of them, you have a risk reward ratio. Okay, you're risking $20 to make 480. Okay, per contract. So I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I've been kind of doing that every once in a while because this iron condor stuff. People starting to attack this thing here too, right? So that's going into too much detail for right now. So right now it's going to be interesting to see because we're opening up on a positive gamma node. Key takeaway. And if I look up above 6330, there's a little of a little negative gamma in the at or around the 35 into the 45, little light gamma there. Ironically, too, a little bit right below the 30, there's a little light gamma node here at the 6315 into the 6305. Okay, so that's not going to be great for that iron condor person or traders because as prices coming down, there's really nothing to stop this until we get down into that 63 in terms of gamma. Okay, down into the 6300. And if we go break above, there's really not much to stop this too, as well, with some tros up until that positive gamma node at 6350, right? That they are creating on this. So pretty interesting to see here today. Whoops. So hopefully I'll be here with the open off of y'all. I'll update that. And right now, they have 5 wide Aidens, 5 wides, 63.55 by 60, 63.60, 5 wides, brother. PLTR gap up. That thing is relentless. The clause is already on that. That's my guy. I wanted to map these out. 95 handle, 55 handle. So that iron condor is down here. And up here. So you got to kind of know options to go through this. But that'll be interesting here. Is there anything at 64? Well, I'm way high. 63.55. I'm way off. Giving this guy too much. There we go. Wow, he's close up here. That's dangerous. All right, good enough. There's the IC. Where there's there's the bear call. Here's the bull put. That bear call is really close right there. Okay, well, got to move on. Let me check out PLTR for my guy. Yeah, in the clause here. See ya. See ya. Well, hopefully people take advantage of the phantoms. Even though PLTR is like clearly like a bubble, it's like a bubble, man. But take advantage of this TP some. I own the stock thanks to our members, Carl. Carl, this guy used to always like PLTR, but this is good. I stayed out of it for earnings, but hopefully phantoms members are taking advantage of that. But yeah, it's kind of getting a little too crazy now on that. So yeah, I'd suggest to take some profit on that if you own that stock. As I do, I've been already taking some profit. This is why I don't get all out. I'm gonna have to shave out a little bit more here too today. QQQ, ETF for Nasdaq. Again, we got the weekly over here, daily on the right. Nice little pro gap, clearing gap. That's a mortgage gap. Woo, that's a powerful one there. We have red bar down in the context of an uptrend. Red bar close, gap up above prior day's high on a leg bar lower. This is pretty much like a leg bar. We gap up above a leg bar. So that's a very strong, powerful reversal bar over this 2-day period, 2-day pattern here. Okay, so again, this is why I'm saying follow through. Potentially have a high probability of potentially fall through up here. As you can see, QQQs are gapping up. Okay, and now just because we're gapping up does not mean that we're going to just continue to go like yesterday. Okay, we could have a pullback. Okay, we could have a gap up and grind lower, come back down in yesterday's range. Okay, now the fact that we are gapping up, though, I will say we could use yesterday's high as a potential retest level right off open. We have that unfilled gap now created here, and of course, there's an unfilled gap all the way down here now, right? But I'm not sure if that's going to happen today. Okay, complete reversal of this mortgage gap up. Okay, but definitely want to make a note of that too. Just for right now, because of time, we got 4 minutes for open. Okay, I'm going to be looking at this gap fill potentially right here, if the event that we push back down. Okay, inside of yesterday's range. Another thing here, noteworthy too, is going to be that this level of demand that was created off of yesterday for the new high continuation between yesterday is going to be a noteworthy area as well, which is probably going to be confluent with the NASDAQ G traps. Okay, so I'd keep an eye and look out at this area here on QQQ's 562 level handle for some bids, demand. Okay. All right, massive gap created yesterday, unfilled. Okay, up and left, yes, we have these little intermediate supplies, but just be careful, like I've been mentioning, how this thing here still bull market. This is the better level up here. That was in line with the G trap higher up here. Watch out for our stop loss fish right there above here. All right, this is all-time high basically. Not just last week's high, all-time highs. All right, so pretty clean. Pretty clean. I like it. Clean is good. Dollar fighting. Dollar is interesting. I'm gonna have to talk to my phantoms. We already started talking a lot about the dollar here down at this potential rotation. So I'm gonna have to talk with phantoms a little bit more tomorrow. We have a lot more time into this. Thank God we already spoke a little bit about that. Apple. even after earnings last week, still cannot punch it out of its range. So I'm not going to waste time on that. Amazon, after earnings, not so great. Man, I did not insure enough of what I own in Amazon, even though Phantoms members have been on my back about that. So we have a gap. We have a gap down on this on Amazon here. Okay, what I would recommend: throw a VWAP on this, anchor that VWAP for that post earnings there, and I'll talk a bit more about this. We have more time, but just because we have a gap down on earnings doesn't mean that we're going to continue to go down. So I'm still looking at Amazon at a couple some of these areas down here, these weeklies and monthly lows. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the live trade rooms when I have more time. Okay, but for today, watch out for this potential weekly low. And there's a yearly VWAP. This yearly VWAP is hovering right down there too as well. So in the event that we did happen to come down in here, watch out, because this is going to be a nice little liquidity sweep area, okay, for a potential pickoff long here, okay, at least for day trade, maybe even a lean into scale into some swing trades. The only thing I don't like about it is again, we're still kind of like in the middle of the all-time high and that April kind of low, but I will say Amazon's still Amazon doing its thing here. And buy low, right? So we've got a ton of mean reversion coming in here. We got the 200 PM moving average down here too as well on the daily. So there's just a ton of macro things happening at this location. Call it Amazon 207 to 200. Okay, pretty interesting area here, which is good. Okay, because we just hit what 236s, 237s, which is only a couple of points from the all-time high. In the event that you wanted to kind of get in some Amazon shares longer term, not just for a day trade here. Okay, but for today though, okay, we have a well, market's just open. Whoa, why is this thing not going here? This is not logged in. Just got the open. Switch this over. Okay. All right, just open switches over to the daily. Put this on the 2. Get some internals really quickly. Advanced declines. Positive 600. Nothing extreme there. All right, now I'm into my account. There we go. Still hanging out. Update this. Amazon off the open. Wide range bar. Google as well. I'm going to take some Palantir shares out. All right, so we actually gapped up opening here. Bit of a decent little, small little positive gamma node here. Amazon just put in a pretty much of a statement bar, belt hold bar right off that 200 PM moving average on the small time frames here. That's a thing. see Google. Google's looking good. Fall through off yesterday, already punching above this daily bar high here. Coming into its intermediate level of supply. So we're trading 197s on Google's. So you want to kind of put a pin on the 197 half strike call or the 200 strike call. Either one is fairly decent, 35, 40 delta, give or take, 50 delta on one. All right, so I'll pick up long calls here. Google. Intermediate level of supply, albeit we're starting to clear. So you get a little bit of a pop on this. SPY's still kind of hanging out right on that positive gamma node here. All right, so if I pick up some Google here, long call, what is this, the 200 strike? All right. Oops, didn't specify the account. There we go. All right. Walmart. All right, there goes Amazon following through on that. AVGO popping as well. All right, gotta get long call Amazon. I have to here. Amazon here. Pick up the 217 strike. Call. All right, you could TP some Google here if you haven't already. All right, SPY's up. Broadcom doing its thing. All right, Google trying here. AVGO looking good. I'm gonna TP some here. AVGO looking even better. TradePhantoms TradeStation is decent. I use TradeStation for futures. I also use TradePhantoms as well. Thinkorswim's okay. They're better for stock and options, in my humble opinion. Futures definitely TradeStation. It's a robust platform. TradePhantoms might be a little bit more simpler, I would say, Chris. I missed a little push off spot as an SPX off that positive camera node on yesterday's highs retest. And Broadcom was a pretty easy setup. VIX chilling, hanging on lows there. VIX declines, parked at 700. Valdez up, but light, not too extreme. Positive -3 would be extreme. SPY is taking a clip higher. And VIX on VIX is lower. I gotta take some profit on PLTR. Let's see the vid. Yeah, pullback imminent here. I'm gonna peel out a little more Google. Peel out a little more Google here. Amazon not as much fall through. Still early, but Broadcom had a little bit better of a fall through here this morning so far. Just making sure you're TPing some Google, right? AMD creeper, NVIDIA creeper. AVGO definitely more of the alpha dominant in the semis to this morning so far. Right now, AMD is on a fade. On a Waterage bar off 2's fade. That could potentially provide a little bit of a pop. All right, Google popping a new high here. Not a lot of fall through, pumpy So TP some Googs I would recommend. I'm going to do that here, right? It was also looking decent, man. AVGO just does not want to stop. And this was a nice, easy setup. Anybody snack AVGO? TP now. So I can't chase. Better than Amazon. There's a nice one there. Easy. Meta creeping. Yep, I'll see you around, Hookah. No, that's spies. Nice. So I'll push an Amazon. All right, spies new highs. Google new highs. AVGO just a monster. I got to peel out of some Google here. I have to just try to see if I get this $2 mark here. Amazon trying to work itself out. All right, Amazon trying to punch its way through here. Still some limit orders up there, right? Spies are coming up into this little level here. The iron condor is placed. Yeah, Google's going. It's Google and AVGO right now in the morning. All right. AVGO and Google are on fire right now. Really good fall through. TP some Google. Amazon, man, focusing on Amazon, and definitely needed some AVGO, man, because that was an easy setup. So that would have been nice to grab right there. And that is trying to creep. It's trying to do a breakout thing there. Breakout. What's that IC priced at right now? Probably missing my shots. I already jumped in that. Meta. Meta had a nice little pop. Amazon's still looking good. It's not stellar. Someone's mentioned Walmart. And Walmart got. Jeez, Tesla. Gotta move. It's just not creeping up, but it's holding a bid there. That's VVIX. Coming up to that 50 node gamma. So last week's VWAP balance here. Pull a fade view up here on high on day so far. And so if we can get a positive COG back above this fade view up that's got put in here, could be a bit of a setup here. All right, right now it's a front side in the VWAP. Just location wise, it just seems like it just wants to have a little more of a liquidity pull one way or the other. Tesla, ironically, is trying to make a bit of a flip. I like that V that just got put in on it. Tesla just be doing its own thing here. And it's on that 200 on the higher time frame. This thing's just getting so pinched. It's a little harder to trust, but it's putting in one of my favorite bars here. With a fakey breaky bar on the 30 minute and 60 minute up here. Some of my faves. So I'm looking like long call Tessie here, trading 11s. If I go to 35 delta, 30 delta here, go to 320s, give or take, 317, half and or the 320. It's got to be a little careful. This is a trap, so it's not a bot call trap. But there's not a lot of supply to the left. It's kind of sloppy. So I'm sure there's some trapped people in here chasing this. And we're about to get this bar closed on 30-minute time frame here in about 7 minutes. Yeah, let me check, Niklaus. Great question. Where's Tesla? Yeah, listen to Joe Frank. We gotta hit some buttons on Amazon here. State of the case a little annoying here, right? So that's the one caveat. Not so great thing about trading options sometimes is that pesky theta. It's doing its thing here. So even if it's like a reduced exposure, right? This just got hit in this little baby account here, and so hit it. Yeah, I hear you, Mark Wahlberg. I hear you, brother. I hear you. And it's just the higher time frames, as you know, because I know you already know the deal. Yeah, it's just so inside. So, I love me some Tesla. But the condition is a little annoying. But if and when that thing pops out, it could be quite fierce. But Nicolas' question about a potential squeeze here. We have a little bit of a negative gamma node here. Sold call, but it looks like it's a spread, so it's not a lot for potential squeeze. So you want to see some massive red, not red, purple sold gamma nodes here. AVGO would be one of the ones that I would front side into on VWAP. Because of the strength of it this morning and follow through. So you could begin to potentially leg into that. Let me see AVGO. Trading 299s. If you pick up, what's the high on day today? Closer to like 301, 301.5 to just under 302s. So maybe the 305s strikes. That is, this might not be too bad here for play. Oh yeah, Mark. When she goes, she's gonna go. So there'll be some nice easy setups in Tesla on when this thing really opens up. You might front side into AVGO. You see it's kind of trickling down a lot below that, so you can potentially wait for a nice little some kind of like positive COG out of here too. Okay. All right. Definitely not as easy as yesterday, that's for sure. But that's fine. Some trading days are just easy, just like easy. But actually follow through. We'll pull them back. So you can put a buy stop on this. So it'd have to, give us a quote unquote positive COG here. to fill that. This would be front side, lower risk, but this is what's called pulse CFG, the backside. So put a limit order there for the 305 strike call there. Google pulled back. If you're still in, make sure stop loss break even on this. How long am I staying? I'm probably going to be getting out of here in a little bit. Okay, we got. Say your name. Amazon pulling back as the market just took a clip lower. All right, henceforth, I'm protecting Googs and reduce some Amazon there. Oh, there's 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock news, right? Indeed. All right, cool. Yeah, Mason. There's another stock, HIMS, that we own. Well, that I own at Phantoms, and we talk a lot about it. That one there, I just bought it. I'm just gonna buy it. So that's going good. One of the greatest rallies and drops in history. If you look at Carvana. Carvana made like insane history. Pump all the way down, and it was close to like $0 a dollar, and it went all the way back up, pump new highs in 400s. Nuts. Carvana needs to be studied for sure. All right, Google slammed down in VWAP. It wasn't even that much of a big move or anything like that here. Palantir VWAPing. So it's hovering above the open below VWAP here. All right, Google, Microsoft, that's let's see. We could potentially lean against this bar here. It's a little tough right now, just because of the location that we're at. But we can lean against this bar here. So if we're looking to get long puts, meaning bearish, I like it because it's very definitive of where we're proven wrong here. Okay. So it gives like SPX, SPY puts. Let me just check where the S&P futures are. All right. We're below Globex low, but the aggressive level is even somewhere down here. So, we are up below the Globex low, so there could be a little bit of a swipe here. So be careful. But SPY puts, we can lean against this bar here, the wide range bar. Below we have VWAP. Maybe igniting a little bit of a potential swipe lower, but this is still going against the overall grind, folks. We don't have a VIX up, 10, 20% like last week right now at the moment. Okay, so if I were to pick up, say, like a 40 delta, like 630 strike puts on spots. Which is bearish. Put that over here to the right. And Amazon just teetering on its VWAP, which is kind of annoying. Make a note, this is still counter overall trend. Higher time frame, right? Bought put is bearish, right? Location not really great. And I'm leaning against this bar here. Yeah, we gotta hit. I gotta click a button in Amazon here. Because we just got a reaction off of VWAP. Still going decent, even after all this. All right, pass policy or G that might be able to allow it to maybe get it equal to or higher high. So Amazon's still actually looking decent here. Now, if this gives out, you might just say, all right, I'm done with this. Does that make sense? They're giving it some time and some space, etc. Right. But on this little bounce, right, if you wanted to reduce a little bit of profit, I'm sorry, reduce a little bit of size, depending on your average fill, you could potentially do that, right? All right, so your stop loss, the equivalency to the premium price on Amazon, probably at or around here, so you kind of know kind of what you're looking at in terms of risk per contract, etc. All right, so like if you're a little heavy right now and you're like, this market's kind of a little wacky here, you can reduce some. Otherwise, we already took a little bit out thanks to the team calling that out a little bit there, right? And you say, all right, you know what, I'm good with, if I put the remaining of my remaining of the contracts on, what have you, okay. And you say, you know what, all right, if that level gets taken out, what we just drew on the chart, and the premium's probably going to be at around here, okay, that would be the equivalent stop loss there. All right, so nothing too great. 179, 179, 180, whatever you got, 170 fill, 175 fill, whatever. Stop loss at around here, probably below the 120 handle on the premium. Okay. So to give y'all some risk appetite before this session just ends. Okay, I want to make sure y'all are covered there. And that equivalent level in SPY is probably going to be at around here. Yeah, so you're probably talking about 50, 55 cents premium risk, give or take. Right, this is a bought put. So if markets go down, right, SPYs, SPX, S&Ps go down, NASDAQ goes down, this put premium is going to increase. Okay, so this is a bearish trade. So bought a put. So if markets go down, put premium goes up. So if markets go up, back up, this is going to come down and get stopped up. So if SPYs and S&Ps, so on and so forth, they potentially takes out new lows, this will be making new highs, and this is where you want to be TP, taking some profit. These are going to be buy to covers TPs, right? Or sell the puts to exit, but this would be because you're short. Buying a put is equivalent to being short. You have to buy to cover to exit. So you're going to be having some TPs. TP from shorts / bearish trades, right? And this whole level hit, this is just like yesterday's kind of grind here. So it's not like super high quality level of demand. This is why I'm saying like we could potentially go a little bit more lower here and to sift out some liquidity. you can see this is, it's a grind. I'm trying to short into this. They're trying to short. Other than last week, Thursday and Friday were awesome. Actually, Friday was off the open short, which was great. And then another one later in the afternoon. I messed this up too over here a little bit, but that's a good location. Anyways, today, let's see if we can get this fall through here. Amazon still battling its VWAP there. You know what's crazy? See the little guy right there? Not everybody who has a trained eye can see that, but that little guy right there, S&P's 6320, a little sneaky right there. So if this thing wanted to like flush out below that level, that aggressive level, a little sneaky level right there, that by untrained eye wouldn't even see. S&P future 6320 handle, NASDAQ would be so annoying. Amazon's one of the bigger stocks up, but it's just the price action's not falling through as much. A lot of the damage, or a lot of the upness is done over the gap. NASDAQ, that would be, well, I had circles for liquidity sweep right there. So 23,162 handle, okay? Ooh. Little sneaky level right there. Creep level. Meaning that everything that I was just mentioning here, a lot of time spent there from yesterday. We haven't like swiped below that level. We got this little impulse, basing impulse right there. C320, look at Joe Frank, King Joe Frank, ES 6320 equals SPX 6290, bottom of the IC, my man. So he just did right there, great work, Joe Frank, he's the man. Valued member to Phantom Society. He's taking the S&P futures level, aka price point 6320, that little sneaky level that he'd probably already seen before I even mentioned it, by the way. So he took this, okay? This little sneaky level right below here for liquidity sweep. Whoops, messed that up. 6320, right? Creep level. All right, now we're breaking down a little bit. What do we have to do with the bot? Now we have this level of demand here, right? Could there already be some G-trap buyers coming in here? Yes. So we're short. What do we have to do, folks? What do we have to do in SPY long puts? We just broke down a little bit, made a new low. So we have to do what? TP, right? Should already have just my limit up there anyways. I don't know a lot here, but let's see. Had my limits on, I would have been better, but just two guys are talking through it. All right, Joe Frank, good job. I'm going to go to that node. Counter trend trade, getting close to that G-trap level, right? At least the first one aggressive. And what Joe Frank was saying was ES 6320 in futures, right? Equals SPX 6295, bottom of the IC. Right here, he's looking at this level right here. there's a little sneaky level. 6295 is the price point on the SPX. Okay. And so he's looking at the price of spot to futures. And in addition to that, he's going into options depth and taking a peek at SPX 6295 in terms of the options depth market maker exposure. So that said, what we're going to look for is I'm going to zoom in here, okay, and look at the 95, and that's what he's saying here, right? So we already know that this is a credit spread. Iron Condor disconnected to this, okay, and we know that the sold put, which is the market maker bought put here, because the market maker is on the other side, 6295. Okay, then there's the bought, there's the there's the sold put that the market maker had to sell, right? So 6290. So at the bottom of that level, in terms of the price chart, SPX 6295, okay, is at the area, okay, the bottom of this, the bottom IC, okay. So there's a positive gamma node right there as well, in addition to a impulse, little sneaky fresh level of demand on a very small time frame on SPX, right below that even number of 6,300 down to 6,395. Okay, so if price does and come down below here, okay, this positive gamma node right here, in fact, this spread is actually going to provide some kind of balanced demand out of there because of the way that the options dynamics work in regard to how market makers and customers who trade SPX, the relationship between that. So it's a little advanced, not a little, it's a lot advanced. All right, the good thing is we have classes at Phantoms that go over this. I spent some time on with the group and the team to really understand that. So shout out to Frank, okay, doing God's work to help us out here, right? So yeah, indeed, that qualifies. Now the cool thing about this too, before I go away here from this level or this platform here, is we do have starting at the 6.3 kind of 10-ish area, 12-ish area, down into the 05. So there's a little bit of what's called a negative or negative gamma or gex level, right? And so if prices happen to continue to go lower and lower, we could potentially swipe through a bit more lower down into at least that 6,300. We have a bit more of a positive gamma node here. Okay, so if 63.10s give out, just think of it like this: there's really not much below that up until we get down until we get to the areas that we just spoke about here. We see these big lines here. Okay, so even if I just take these out, you don't really understand that much in regard to options, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, right? Everybody has different places in their journey and career of trading and investing. If you look for the big nodes or the big open interest orders here, that will help. Okay, so as you know, we have a little something here at 310s, but if we go below 310s, notice how there's not a lot there down until we get down here. Okay, so potentially, even though this is a counter trend short trade that we're on at the moment, okay, we could try to milk this out a little bit here, right? Not being greedy, taking profit as I should right now. What should we do right now on this? This is a counter trend trade. So we got a TP some, right? You can see Amazon's probably going to be getting stopped out here now too, personally. Soon, probably. And the clause, you see how AVGO, it looked really strong in the morning. I wanted to, because of the way the S&Ps and the internals were looking, I wanted to be a little more patient on that AVGO front side. And so I didn't get a trade in on AVGO because it didn't fall through on the positive COG. All right. All right, let me lock in some more of these puts here. The reason why I'm doing SPYs today versus, like, say, something like the SPX is, at least for right now, it's a little more slower and grindy. All right, now this is a counter trend trade, right? We discussed all that, so make sure that we're starting to begin to now trail our stops because it's making new lows, right? We've already had a correction, and we made a new low on the S&Ps. We made a new high here, so begin to now what? TP, and then trail stop. Yeah, and Claus, like yesterday, oh my God, everything was, I already know you traded yesterday and probably cleaned house. But yesterday, woo, it was completely different than what it was today on that pro gap up. And man, that was a lot better condition than kind of like what it is today. And I know you know the deal on that already. All right, so again, we leaned on that impulse, that breakdown impulsion bar. I didn't even check news. I don't even care. I'll check all that stuff later. I'll put Bloomberg on in the background later when I'm off the mic. Right. You got to trade the tape anyways, right? So I trade first and then I go and look what happened after, right? I'm aware of news coming out. We actually needed that to kind of move these things here a little bit. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make in that, and then now that we have we got short TP some, now we just made a new low, right? So now we can begin to trail stop now. Okay, there's daily view up right there. So around this vicinity here. Yeah, Joe Frank is doing some good stuff here too in regard to we could set what's called the conditional order. Say an SPX, if SPX were to hit 6295, okay, he's looking at, and he's a beast. He's already looking at, so he's already planning his next attack here. All right, in that, if SPX gets down to 6295, he might be looking to pick up maybe like the not of the money SPX call, maybe 6330 handle looks like. Okay, so if we happen to like flush lower, okay, everything that we just spoke about in the morning prep, even until now, okay, you could potentially get like a flush out, ding, or a fill down in here, okay, and then even if you pick up say the 6330, okay, even if we take a bounce from 6295, and even if we get bounce up maybe like even just 10 points to like maybe 6310, 6307, which is not that big of a deal there, okay, those calls potentially could print some nice reward, okay, for the risk that potentially you could potentially take. Okay, so that said, let me sneak out a little more puts here. I got to get out of Amazon, right? So let me do that first out, as you can visually see here. Okay. So that didn't work out. All right, shout out to the team, shouting that out up here to TP, right? A little bit of something and reducing some kind of risk is better than absolutely nothing, right? So it wasn't a total loss, which is good. Thanks to the team there. Now SPY is just dumping out, making a new low here, right? So I want to TP some more of these puts here first and foremost. All right, lock that in. So that's it, folks. We cut losers, didn't work out. Cut losers. You're continuing to trade, taking other setups, other things. Life moves on. Trades move on. All right, manage the winners, cut the losers, particular setups, and that's it. Keep it moving. All right. How y'all doing? Okay. Lower energy, Mr. Blue. Some of y'all probably liking that. A little more slower. All right. Yes, we are coming into this level of demand. This is the aggressive level in futures that we were talking about. Could this be the low on day today? I mean, it could, right? So did we buy down here? We're buying to cover, right, from our shorts. All right, because I'm not going to be here with you all day here in this here. let's do the Joe Frank planned SPX level. All right, because that's something that that we could put in as a pending. I'm not going to be here to manage it with you folks, though. That's the thing. So, and this is setting up a classic in that we have like a market that moves like this, like yesterday, just like boink up, right? And then at the end of the day, it was just like a high, high base range here, right? And then so today we have, our market's moved up, just a little bit, nothing too crazy up here, right? Found some liquidity, and then all day yesterday we had this level, right? This was yesterday's level, and so right below here, this which is what we're trying to plan right now, a little bit of a baby level right below there. Okay, so all that liquidity that's built up, okay, over from late day yesterday, right at that level, okay, late day's range yesterday, okay. It could potentially they already filled the gap and all that. What I'm waiting for is a potential, swipe out and stop out, right? Snag some liquidity, some new liquidity, pop back up mid range, okay, and then we'll see, right? I kind of cringe when people draw all these lines like in the future as if it's going to happen, but this is very classic, basic, high range up a third, new day up here, Boeing doing his thing, swipe, get some liquidity. Right, swipe, snag some liquidity here. Okay, and first, GPS destination, of course, would be come right back into kind of mid range here. Okay, then there'll probably be a fight again, and between the buyers and sellers, and we'll see what happened there. Good job, Mason. All right. VIX creep. All right, so Joe Frank was looking at this. He doesn't want to get too far away from daily VWAP, which is right now about 63.30. If in the event that we swipe down lower to 62.95, 63.30 won't be too far away, right? So using VWAP as a guide, don't want to be too away from the volume-weighted average price of the day. Okay, and that said, so we can go here to SPX. Kids playing outside. SPX. Come on. All right. Looks like this thing just froze a little bit here. Hopefully y'all can still hear me. 63.30. Right now that's going for that. So I got the 63.30 strike call. Right now it's going for about $3.70, give or take. Right now it's a 25 delta. If we were to get down here, I'm gonna put two prices here. First and foremost, I'll put three. I'll put 63.30. I'll put one in the middle here for like a target. What I mentioned, like 63, say 10-ish, and then the entry is going to be 6295 SPX, right? So the first number that I'm going to be focusing on here really briefly is going to be how this option is going to be priced at, give or take, roughly speaking, if and when SPX gets down to 6295, right over here. As you can see, right now they're going for about 340, 330-ish, give or take. And if we get down there, it'll be if we got down here, this would decrease by about 230. So if I take that minus by 230, you're probably talking about a buck, maybe a buck 10, maybe a buck 25, give or take, maybe 80 cents, maybe 90 cents, give or take, depending on what time, if and when it gets down there. Okay, so that's decent little price for some risk. If you wanted to get a little more delta, because that'll be like an 8 delta. If you wanted to get a little bit more delta on that, just like for example, if you maybe picked up like say the 63.25 strike call, which would be closer to at the money in the event that we get down to 62.95, but you pick up the 63.25 strike call. Well, all other things being equal here, if this is going for 450 now, if we got down to 62.95, these would be cheaper by how much? About 300 bucks, give or take, rounding. Okay, oops, that's 450 minus 300. It takes us to about what, $1.50, give or take, thereabouts for the 63.25. And when I see something like that, that's maybe like 20, 30, maybe 40, 50 bucks, cheap, just a little bit more than say the other one, I would typically like to get that one, the latter, 63.25, because that's would be a higher delta for not as much per risk per contract. Okay, so that's not bad there, right? And it's kind of crazy because just let me TP some more SPY puts here. So much VIX calm down, because even now, put it Thursday and Friday. I don't want to talk about this that much because it's a little advanced. But on Friday, like those 10, 12 deltas were like $300-400. So implied vol is down a little bit more here again today. All right, so just TPing some of these puts here. So that's what you could be looking at there. 25, 63.25, 63.30, give or take. If you're a little bit more experienced and you want to get a bit more delta, you maybe pick up the 63.20, give or take. All right, and yeah, like right now we got the first 1 hour bar. First 1 hour bar is printed. You get some fall through lower here, so I want to be careful with that bullish exposure there this morning. All right, so I kind of waited in SPY for a breakdown and let the market kind of tell me what it wanted to do here, and so far, not bad. All right. Amazon, not so much. Actually, out of Google. Oh no, Google. Now you have runners on Google. I'm giving back 12 cents on these runners. All right, out of Google. There you go. I see your question mark. Let me get you covered, buddy. Give me back some pennies here. SPY's going here. SPY's going, folks. Gotta grab that. I grab some SPYs. I mean, this should definitely be at break even by now. Your remainder, if you still have some. After that TP, I don't even have a lot left on here. Actually, down the runners. And now we're snapping that level. Let me take care of my buddy Mark right here, really fast. Very small time frame level at the 95. NASDAQ, what do you think about the 23,215 NQs? Let's find out. 23,215. Investigate. right there. Not bad. It's inside of a. It's inside of the level on level there, indeed. You know, kind of like a lot of time spent there, a little bit, right? Some time spent there, but you know, it's at least inside of a 30-minute, 60-minute level of demand. It could work out, right? It could work out because you might not be able to get below these levels here. So, indeed, right? There's something there for sure. And it does qualify because that is a level of demand below the Globex low. Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg level. Right? Indeed, sir. Now just watch out, Wahlberg, because you don't want to put your stop loss like right here, right? You already know what I'm going to say next, right? You got entry here, you put your stop loss right there. We're trying to hunt for you, brother. Right? So I would suggest, because here's the thing, right? What if we hit the Mark Wahlberg level 215s, right? Don't even swipe lower down here. This never gets filled, but this works out. That could happen. But what if this gets hit and you put your stop loss like tight right below here, you get stopped out, comes down to here, you get stopped out on this one, then you put your stop loss right below here, then you get stopped out, and then maybe it comes, and maybe this level doesn't even work out either. You get stopped out, and you're happy about that, right? But then you get stopped out here, maybe it comes to this level here, all right, liquidity sweep, and then goes, right? So if I'm going to take this 23,215 level, for example, like the Mark Wahlberg level, I'm going to go into that scaling in, leveling in, layering in, meaning that I'll scale in a little bit more here. If we get a little bit more lower, I'll get a little bit more heavier here. But I'm going to have to put my stop loss below here on the swipe because I don't want to get swiped out. Okay, does that make sense? Right. So if I'm beginning to go in like right now, Mark Wahlberg just got brain filled, right? Hypothetically, okay. I'm going into that thing with the understanding that I'm going to be playing a bit more of the wider area here because I don't want to get stop loss wiped. Does that make sense? All right, SPY's go to TP. Nice. All right. VIX on VIX creeping. VIX up, folks. VIX is up about 6% on highs. Interesting. I love advanced decline. So smooth. All right. This is about to soon immense here. Let me sneak out some puts. I'm down to like my last 3 on this. Unload some of these puts here. Nice pumps. All right. Almost there on Qs. Almost there on S&Ps. All right, so what is that? 625 is going for about 230 right now. The 6330 is going for about a buck 65 right now on the SPX. All right, we're dipping down there right now. All right, so I'll pick up the 63. I'll pick up the 6325 here. It's a very small level. With this increased vol, we'll have to see. All right, but I just snagged some SPX. Now, if I have 2 contracts left on these SPYs, do I want to get out all of them? Don't want to get out all of them, right? Because what if the SPX is wrong and we flush lower and these things go print more, right? So I'm going to make sure that my stop loss is for sure protected in profit already. But I'm going to keep some runners on here. Okay, this is a SPY long put. So if this market just destroys that level and goes lower, okay, these would print higher, okay, which would offset some of the risk that I'm just opened up a ticket for in SPX. All right. As you can see here. Coming down here, lower extremes. There was a SPY. No bounce five. No, no bounce fives yet. Target on that is if we, just if like let's say Aiden, for example, like if we do get some kind of like mean revert, I'd be targeting these areas up here, right? Just for a quick little mean revert. See how that balances out, right? right? And for these, I'm just going to try to ride these puts because this is now taking care of some of the risks that I'm floating down in SPX at the moment. But of course, I got more size in SPX now because I just initiated and opened a new trade while I'm only down like 2 runners on this. All right. And 1050. And if you wanted to, I mean, this would be the area where you would add to this if you wanted to add to this. Long call. There's a little something there, Shane. It's very small though, but I love how we brought this up. Is it like a daily low? There is no daily low or anything like that, right? So this is going to be a quick little see if we can get some kind of mean revert out of this little what's called G trap liquidity sweep. Okay, there could just be continuation fall through and just get destroyed. That's why I'm holding on those long puts. Okay, so this is where, for example, like I got long puts on SPY, right? You with me, right? Like long puts on SPY, which is bearish, right? Now I TP'd a lot of them, right? But I still got 2 left on, right? That was a good trade, whatever. Okay. It still got those on. Now, over here, this is a very, 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 very tiny small time frame impulse basing impulse. But the reason why I'm even considering that, and I love how Shane said, what are you all even seeing? Is there even like a daily low or anything like that around there? And there's not, right? There's not. So one of the things I was just looking at here, for example, is if we have a Globex low here, and then we had these 2 levels here that I had mentioned, like, they're not super great impulse basing impulse. And then right below this level, there's a little bit of a very small time frame impulse basing impulse that if this thing did want to come down and just do a quick little sweep and take a bit of a bounce, which we're still kind of sifting out, working through that right now. That could be the case. But Shane is correct in that is there a daily low here? No, there's really nothing, right? In terms of a higher time frame, like daily low, daily high, or whatever. In this case, we're going long bullish, so it would be a daily low. In here, there's not, right? So as a level, is this going to be a super A plus A1 level, or is this kind of like day trade kind of okay, let's see if we can try to get a little bit of a bounce out of here. We got a Gamino down here, we got the Iron Condor down here. Okay, we'll give it a little time and space, see if we can get a little bit of something here, but if not, I'm going to just get stopped out of that. And, hopefully, now I realize not everybody might still be in that, but hopefully if you still have some of those long puts, albeit if you had like 1 or even just 2 left on, or even just 1 left on, and we just like slammed a little bit more lower down into the 90 handle, 62.90 that is, okay? You might be taking a loss on some of the SPX, okay? But at least you have a little bit of that runners to help mitigate some of that loss. All right, does that make sense? Because if I wanted to get short or add to my shorts, this is not the time to do it right now, because now we are at some kind of little bit of an intermediate level of demand. We are Globex trapping right now, and so even if I wanted to get short, I would have to wait for a mean revert up, right? Does that make sense? I have to wait for, here's the 2-minute time frame, 20 period moving average right here, right? I mean, even at a minimum, I would need to wait for it to come up into the small, I'm talking like 2-minute time frame. 20 period moving average is a little bit of a mean revert to maybe take a negative COG off of that. Okay, right? Does that make sense? This is the worst time, okay, to like leg in or to get into shorts right now. This is the time to take profits from shorts. And if you are, okay, and if you are looking to take like a counter trend trade at the moment, just counter trend momentum at the moment, all right, going against obviously daily view up, which is right there, and just the momentum for the day so far because clipping down, all right, and you want to go against that, this would be around the time to do that. As that was the bit of the fresher, little bit fresher level below the Globex low and below that level that I was just mentioning there. Okay, but albeit to Shane's point, it's not super like, oh my God, awesome. There's a daily low, weekly low, monthly low sweep or anything like that. Okay, so this is why I'm keeping it low delta. Keeping it pretty close. In other words, I'm not going to let this thing get too far away from me. All right, and at the end of the day too, I bought SPX options for what, $2.20, $2.30. All right. So worst case is $2, 2 points losing, $2.30 losing, which is not great. I'm not saying that is a great thing. Okay, but I run on like what's called a point-based system. Okay, so usually anything that's below, I'd say like $3, $4, $5 usually is my threshold. It's going to be okay. All right, but I realize not everybody's like that at that point. Right. So it's not about me. But like for me, this is not that much of a risk for me, and just in regard to the point-based system. All right, but of course, I don't want that to go all the way to zero, of course, right? But so we'll see. So I mean, so far we haven't really got a bounce out of there. Okay, and if I'm buying options, and I'm going against, right? So I got 20 here, I got the VWAP here, and I'm going against that. So we just needed one little basic little mean reverse. So even if this thing got a pop from like, Aiden was asking me a great question about targets. Even if the thing went from like 230, 220, wherever you got into it, 230, wherever you got into it, 235, and if thing popped up to like 325, 350s, this would be a nice little TP already for a nice little pop out of there. Okay, using that VWAP and that 20 moving average as a guide. All right, so yeah, we'll see. I got to end this not because I really want to, but just because I do need some more coffee and I need to go to the restroom. And I'm not just gonna like press pause. I actually think I'm overlapping what some of the other phantoms are doing session wise, anyway. So I spent a little more time with y'all. Hopefully, this helped some. Excuse my voice and all that, and my energy. I'm not the real Mr. Blue here, coming out of a weekend little stupid sniffles and sneezes and stuffs. So day by day getting better. So I'm hoping tomorrow morning, being Wednesday in our live trade room, I'm back up. All right. But I also realize that some folks, I'm a little bit too fast for some folks. So some people might be enjoying some of the slower blue. So wherever you fit in the middle of that, hopefully it balances out. All right, folks. I guess that's it. If you want to learn a little bit more about this, everybody here started. We have some Phantom members in here. They all started here. All right. Go to TradePhantoms.com. Make sure it's this website here. It is starting to become a lot more fakes out there these days. All right. Mr. Blue, Mr. Black, Mr. Green will never solicit you or anything like that. We don't follow. We don't do nothing of that stuff on social media. So we're tough for the fakes. The real one is here, registered now. Go Thursday, August 7th, which is what is the next time we are going to be doing a class, a 90-minute session hosted by Mr. Black or Mr. Green. Sometimes both of them. All right, name, email, number. You'll get sent a link, and you can read all this. This is the agenda. Okay, we're all professional traders here. Myself, Mr. Green, Mr. Black. Every direction, up, down, sideways, stocks, futures, forex, options, even crypto these days. Short-term trading, scalping, all the way to long-term wealth management. All right, we do it all. One-stop shop. So if you like it, great. If not, that's great as well. Come check it out, and you can see a lot of the members even in here right now doing some really good work. And we'll continue. We learn new things all the time. I'm still learning, even after 15 years in this business. Love it, love it, love it. That said, I'll see some of y'all later today in the afternoon with the class later today, hosted by yours truly, Mr. Blue. I'm still game for it. And then enjoy your day, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. God bless. Take care.